Welcome back to Popular Preparedness. I have 11 things that may be a little bit weird. You may consider them a little bit weird, a little bit quirky, but I am stockpiling because you can never have enough of any of this stuff. Actually, one of those items you probably can have too much of. But some of these you may agree with. Some of these you may be like, I already have that. And others you may be like, I never thought of that. So that's why we do these. Dried fruit. You can buy dried fruit. Some people have suggested sun-dried tomatoes, dried kiwis. Yes, you can buy that. You can buy all sorts of fruit. If you're looking for the more odd fruits, you might want to go online for that. If you're looking for like craisins, raisins, banana chips, that kind of stuff, you might be able to find those cheaper at your local store. So that's number one. Number two, a little bit quirky, is I have a whole bunch of fishing line. I use this to string between my, to do fencing against the deer. So that it's disposable, but it's really cheap. This stuff is really, really cheap. When you compare this to like string or cordage, this is really, really cheap. But it's actually really strong. Now, it's weird because it's like really thin, but fishing line has a lot of application that you can use it for. If you get the heavy test stuff, you can basically use it as string or rope. It's just something you just can't have enough of, and it doesn't take up much space. This is 700 yards of 12 pound. You can get the 30, 40, 50 pound test. You can get some nice stuff for, and it doesn't take up much space, and it's relatively cheap. All right, this isn't quite so weird, but it is super important. If you don't have these already, you need to get them. Multivitamins. Multivitamins in the third world, when you're talking about humanitarian relief and such like that, they need to provide food to people, and then they need to provide multivitamins to people. This is borderline non-negotiable. Everyone needs to have multivitamins. That's my opinion. You may disagree with me on that, but it provides so many things that your body needs. Now, absorption levels are an issue and such, but it at least gets you going in the right direction, especially if you have to restrict yourself to a diet that doesn't cover all the nutritional needs. Speaking of things you pop in your mouth, this is in a super large bottle with just a few capsules in there, but this is potassium iodide. If there is a nuclear exchange, you're going to be wanting to take potassium iodide. You can buy the little foil pack ones that you pop out. Those are expensive. You can get the dietary supplements a lot cheaper. I went the route of stockpiling a few dietary supplements. Make sure you research how many milligrams and such like that you're supposed to get, and make sure you don't mess up your milligrams and your whatever the other one is. Make sure you get the right amount that you're thinking you are, because they'll play with those. They'll use the very similar measurements, but it's really like 1,000th of what you're expecting to get. That's the item that you probably can get too much of. Get enough to do like 30 days for the people that you love, and it's not going to protect you perfectly, but it will provide some level of protection against cancer-causing agents in you. So just a thought there. This is kind of quirky. Fly ribbons. You know, these things where you unroll a tube and it just has a little tape going down and the bugs stick to it. These things are easy to stockpile. They don't really go bad for a while, and they're cheap, and bugs are annoying. So I got a bunch of these, and they look tacky, but they're effective, right? You go in the third world, and all the restaurants that don't have windows, don't have screens, they use those. Okay, so it's a good idea. Okay, another quirky one, sort of. Clothespins. Lots and lots of dollar store clothespins. They're still $1 last I checked, and you get 36 clothespins for $1. You can use these for hanging clothes, which if you have a dryer right now, you may need to switch to drying your clothes outside if you don't have electricity and such like that. So smart move there. And then these things can be just used for multitudes of purposes. Reclose bags, you can take them apart. You look up some YouTube videos and stuff like that on uses for clothespins, and it's just like tons of things you can use them for. You can always use things where you're clipping things on where you don't want to actually have to nail something down, right? Next thing, not weird at all, but it has more uses than you thought. Dish soap. The antibacterial concentrated dish soap has more applicable uses than like the regular dish soap. So I stockpile the cheap stuff because I use that regularly and I don't mind wasting a whole bunch of it when I hand wash my dishes. But I do pick up the more expensive stuff, especially to stockpile. You don't want to run out of dish soap when, SHTF happens. In addition to that, there's so many uses for dish soap out there. You can use it to repel animals. You can just many uses. We won't get into them all here. Next one, duct tape. This is the cheapo stuffed duct tape from Royal King, and then this is the heavier duty, expensive duct tape from Royal King as well. You want to have a good mix of cheap stuff, that's throwaway stuff for just temporary things, and then the heavier duty stuff for things that are a little more important. You want to have a good mix of duct tape, but you want to have lots and lots of duct tape. That stuff is just useful. Make sure you store it well, because if it gets exposed to heat, it can go bad, and it will go bad. It'll get all gummy and yucky. So, next one. This is not weird, but you really need to get this stuff. Bandages. BandAids, you need lots of BandAids because if the grid goes down, that means the hospitals go down, and you're going to need to care for things that you weren't before. And BandAids are huge. If you're not used to working with your hands all day long, doing farming type things, you're going to have a lot of ouchies and a lot of boo-boos. Kids are going to have more ouchies and boo-boos than they're used to having. You're going to need more BandAids in an SHTF situation than you normally would, and it's going to be more important in that type of situation to make sure an infection doesn't take hold. You need to make sure you have antibiotic cream to put on them, and then on the more serious side, you can get the you want to have gauze. Lots of gauze for the more serious issues that you may have. This one is off Amazon. This is actually linked down below as the 36 rolls of gauze. You really need to have a lot of gauze and you're going to use that stuff even if you just have an injury in normal times. Gauze is really useful that way, right? Number 10, trash bags. You can't have enough trash bags. You need trash bags. You need more trash bags. You need so many trash bags. It's unbelievable. And when I was working in the third world, trash is a huge issue. And it's a major luxury to be able to actually put everything in a bag and carry it and dump it. That's because in an SHTF situation, your garbage dump isn't probably going to be covered. It's probably going to be somewhere on your property or somewhere in the neighborhood, and everyone's going to throw stuff on there. And people who are throwing loose stuff on there is going to smell horrible, and animals are going to get into it. Animals are going to get into it anyway, but if you have it in a bag, it will reduce the smell significantly and reduce disease and flies and mosquitoes and all that kind of stuff. Having good trash bags and enough of them is going to be a really big deal. Not to mention you can use trash bags for all sorts of other things, right? Trash bags are very useful things. And number 11, this is a little bit quirky of a thing. Some of you would be like, well, of course, lemon juice. Lots of lemon juice. I do not like the taste of water, particularly water comes out of the tap, and if the water doesn't taste good, I don't like it. But I can throw a little bit of lemon juice in there and get rid of the flavor, make it better tasting. Plus you got vitamin C in there, and you can use it for all sorts of recipes. It's also an acid that can be used for different products, different applications there, for being the activation unit when you mix it with the baking soda. Lots and lots of applications for lemon juice. Everyone should have a lot of lemon juice, I think. And the nice thing is about it is you can get the stuff that's shelf stable like this one. It doesn't need to be refrigerated until it's opened. So that's my 11 quirky items for the day. Hopefully you guys can grab some of those things if you haven't grabbed all of them. Or maybe you have substitutions that you'd like to throw in the comments below. I don't use that because I use this instead. This is a better option. Maybe you do have better options that would be good for all of us to hear. Please do share those. Love you guys. Have a great day, and I'll see you again here tomorrow.